Watching NewsX. Well, France has deported 118 Pakistani nationals while rejecting 183 visitors' visas of Pakistanis in a move seen as a retaliation for virulent attacks on French President Emmanuel Macron. Marseille-based Consulate General of Pakistan said that they are requesting France to allow Pakistanis a temporary stay. It has also been found out that the name of former ISI chief, Lieutenant General Ahmed Shuja Pasha's sister's name is also there on the deportee list. Islamabad has requested Paris to grant her a temporary stay. Pakistan, led by its Prime Minister Imran Khan, has been indulging in virulent attacks on Macron after he vouched for freedom of speech and denounced Islamist terrorism, which has been unleashed on France in the last few days. There have been massive protests in Pakistan against French President Macron, and a call to boycott French products has also been issued. We'll talk about this very sensitive topic, perhaps not so much for the country of Pakistan, but very important for France. All Macron did was call a spade a spade. Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, with us on the program. Major General A.K. Sivach, defense and strategic expert, also joins us on this important debate. Last but by no means the least, Mr. Sanjay Kapoor, editor of Hard News and foreign affairs journalist, also joins us on the platform. Ambassador Mukherjee, now this is no longer just an argument or a cockfight between Pakistan and France. The entire Islamic world has been engulfed in this tug of war between the extremists and the moderate world of Islam as well. Saudi Arabia, so much so, has denounced what happened in France. He in fact criticized, MB has criticized the terrorists as well as those people who support this form of extremism, whereas Pakistan and Turkey have been hand in glove, and they have taken on France, have even made suggestions to boycott. Pakistan making suggestions to boycott for French products is hilarious, but Turkey also trying to boycott France for holding up the value of democracies is preposterous. Your assessment of what's happened?
Well, first of all, Vineet, as President Macron said yesterday evening, I heard him on television this morning, the right of freedom of speech is a core French value and enshrined in their constitution. So what Macron said was very important. He said he can understand that if a caricature or a statement can cause offense to somebody, but the core French value of having the freedom to make that judgment, to say it, is something that he will defend, and that is very much part of the values that came out of the French Revolution of 1789. Now, as far as beheading is concerned, you are going to the extent of beheading a teacher who has shown a caricature while saying that those who don't like it are free to leave. That means you have made yourself the jury and the judge, and you have inflicted a horrific form of punishment which used to be practiced in the 10th century in Islamic countries. Now, this is something which is an attack on not just Western values but on universal values, because the UN Charter is actually the basis of international law. And here you have a situation where a very important country of the European Union, a permanent member of the Security Council, their citizens are being beheaded in their own capital. So you can imagine this sense of outrage. Imagine, God forbid, if such a thing happened here, that this sense of outrage among France. Now the issue is that Pakistan and Imran Khan, who shows an amazing tendency, he didn't do this, by the way, when he was playing cricket. He jumps right in without thinking. Right. Now, if you look at the Pakistani-French bilateral relationship, Pakistan has everything to lose by spoiling its ties with France. It's a very old relationship. They used to buy a lot of defense purchases from France. That has got reduced over the years, but they are quite dependent on France for many things. They also have a huge expat community in France, and many of their retired ISI functionaries, etc., go to France for their excellent medical facilities, etc., etc. This is going to hurt Pakistan much more than it's going to hurt France. And it's already very clear that in the list of deportees, if there is the sister of the all important ex-chief of ISI, the French will go right after them, and it's not going to help. As far as Turkey is concerned, it is slowly being considered to be almost like a rogue state. Unfortunately,
Correct.
it is still a member state of NATO. But Pakistan is not Turkey. Pakistan should have been much more restrained, and Pakistan will pay a very heavy price because the French are not going to forget the manner in which they have tried to defend the beheadings.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Mukherjee, in fact, the French Foreign Ministry hailed India's response. They said that India supporting us at this crucial juncture only goes on to show that India is a mature economy. But Sanjay, in fact, even the statements which have been made by Imran Khan, they do not seem to be original. It doesn't seem to be a unilateral, autonomous statement which has been furnished by the Wazir-e-Azam of Pakistan. It seems that just to appease Erdogan and Turkey, Imran Khan has been saying things, he's been doing things without giving a thought or a care to what happens to his own people. He went on to say that these kind of statements will only provoke Muslims. I don't know about you, Sanjay, but I find it to be extremely regressive for a premier or a prime minister of any country to be using such shallow language. Sanjay Kapoor.
Yeah, this is very complicated, and I think Imran should have been more circumspect before launching on this kind, because the beheadings in Paris and in Nice cannot be in any way condoned, or they have to be condemned in very strong words. Then nobody in his right mind would like to defend that. So there may be some history about France behaving in a certain manner, or their aggressive secularism that is being brought into fore, especially their licenticism that they practice. But having said that, Imran and Pakistan should have been more circumspect, and instead of trying to bring peace in the world, they have actually aggravated the tension that resides in most of these Muslim countries. And Turkey's Erdogan is seeking leadership of the Ummah, the Muslim world. He fancies himself as the new Khalifa. So, there is a certain kind of politics, a certain kind of decision making that flows from him. And similarly, Mr. Imran Khan, in fact, if you remember, Mr. Imran Khan and Mr. Erdogan and Mahathir Mohamad, all three of them had come together to fight Islamophobia. So that is their definition of fighting Islamophobia, because they've been attacking President Macron for fomenting Islamophobia, or all the decisions that he has taken is to somehow, in their reckoning, is to feed Islamophobia. So this is a very tricky, issue. It is not something that can just be explained away in a panel discussion, because there are a lot of emotions that are involved. The Muslims in these countries are a very emotional lot, and they are, mostly manipulated by the leaders who keep on playing with their emotions. And instead of, having a conversation with President Macron and trying to find a way out and trying to see that, there could be some solution coming out of this, they have actually aggravated it. And it's a pity that is happening here.
And General Shivac, in fact, it is a pity that this is happening here. But like Ambassador Mukherjee also said that, Turkey is perhaps on the verge of becoming a rogue state. Maybe they already are in the world's eyes, but at the same time, Erdogan and Pakistan perhaps do not miss an opportunity to antagonize the OIC. Do you think this is a part of the Ummah, the caliphate that Erdogan wants to create, that he wants to snub Saudi Arabia? Because he will always say the opposite of what Saudi Arabia is saying. In fact, there is a campaign in the country of Saudi Arabia to boycott everything Turkish. Even the tourism, there is heavy tourism from Saudi Arabia to Turkey, even in these times, which the leader of Saudi Arabia has said should be cut down in view of what Turkey has been doing. They seem to be shooting themselves in the foot.
Absolutely correct. There is no doubt, Vinny. The fact is, today Turkey wants to become a champion of Muslim world. It wants to now challenge the hegemony of Saudi Arabia and UAE. And it is doing what it is doing on this line. The basic thing is that Turkey is now going all out that the complete Muslim world should unite, and Erdogan is the champion of the cause. And that is why what he has said as far as France is concerned. And not only this, the fact that they were supporting Pakistan even in China, even in Financial Action Task Force, shows as far as Turkey, Malaysia and Pakistan are hand in glove when it comes to terrorism. They do not, they basically think that terrorism is something different than the religion. But they are not understanding as far as today Islam is concerned, their fundamentalism is rising. And Turkey is making use of it just to become a Khalifa and the champion of the Muslim world. And it is now trying to challenge the authority of Saudi Arabia. As far as Turkey is concerned, one can understand. But I do agree on one issue, that being a part of NATO, there should be more pressure from European Union and the NATO that Turkey should behave, because Turkey of late is doing what they are doing and no one is checking it. And that's what it is making him bold. But what Imran Khan is doing is nothing very, surprisingly, because he has got nothing else to do. He has to do everything what Erdogan tells him. Because today Pakistan is in such a financial crisis that no one is ready to give them any loan. Even Saudi Arabia and UAE, Muslim world is not with Pakistan. Pakistan have only Turkey and China as a friend. So Pakistan will always support Turkey in the present scenario, and that's what it is done. But the fact is that they are not understanding dividing the world on the name of the religion can be very disastrous for the humanity. As far as France is concerned, Emmanuel Macron is very clear. They have fought against the church. They wanted the state to be above the church. They have done it. They can't now the Islamization take place in France. To me, it looks like that Europe has failed in this. Today, France has got 8% of their population of Muslims, and majority of them are the one which are refugee came over a period of time. Today, there is a challenge, and the challenge is to the freedom of press, freedom of liberty, and everything is at the stake. And today, what is Emmanuel Macron is doing is showing us the light to the whole world. If today he calms down, then the fundamentalism will take over this world. So what he has done it, I am sure we all should support. India has come and supported Imran Macron, and also has told that as far as terrorism is concerned, no one is with it. Okay. You can have a difference of opinion, but you cannot take law in your own hand. You cannot be violent. The way he has beheaded a teacher, 18 years teenage, is something which cannot be even dreamt of. If you start taking side like this, the world will be divided.
Absolutely.
And therefore, there is a requirement now at the same time for the whole world to gather, the democracy of the world to get together and support Emmanuel Macron in fighting against terrorism.
France says that no Pakistanis will be allowed. In fact, they have put up a proposal that for the sake of national security, all immigration from Pakistan should be stalled. In fact, it's more than a crisis, Ambassador Mukherjee, what's going on in France. The country has about 8% of a Muslim population. In your opinion, why do you think France has become extremely susceptible, vulnerable to these Islamic attacks? Is it because they're too liberal? Is it because there's not much of a distinction in terms of societal norms and maneuverability in the social fabric of France, that they find themselves at the wrong end, of this deal, where, innocent teachers are being beheaded, and countries like Pakistan and Turkey are defending this. And let's also talk about the OIC. The maximum number of people who are countries who are a part of the OIC have condemned these attacks, except an Iran, a Pakistan and a Turkey. What does this tell you? That it's not the Islamic world that wants to defend these terrorists. It's just a handful of these bad apples.
Well, it basically tells us two things. First of all, that Muslim majority opinion is against this kind of barbaric medieval punishment, and believes rightly that such behavior shows Islam in a horrific light to the international community. So that's very clear. And so the beheadings have clearly established that the Muslim countries themselves have drawn a line between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. The only countries that are an exception, as has rightly been pointed out, are Turkey and Pakistan. I would expect Iran at some point, because they are very, very smart, much smarter than the Turks and the Pakistanis, to nuance their position. I would expect that. It will come in the days to come. Now, the second question is, you very rightly pointed out, actually it's more than 8% of the population. It began with the Algerian War of Freedom.
Correct.
And those who had defended the French during the Algerian War were given refuge. And over time, a large number of French-speaking Arabs came and settled in France. Now, this first wave of immigration did not cause a problem because they were French-speaking, they understood French values, and they were easily assimilated. Because you must understand, Vineet, that the French definition of laïcité, secularism, is very different from the Indian one. It not only involves the total separation of church and state as decided after the French Revolution, it also involves rejection of anything religious in any government funded institution. Therefore, in a government school, for example, Sikhs cannot wear turbans. It's not permitted. So it's a very different kind of secularism from what we have in India, where we believe in accommodation. Now, over the years, this worked fine. There was no problem. Then a second wave came as Muslims became more and more fundamentalized, and those came to France. Then started the whole struggle of French passport holders who were Muslim, but who did not believe that the core French values were their values and were worth fighting for. And that is where it started. And then, as fundamentalism increased in the Islamic world, these young people got influenced first with the Syrian war and other places where many of them, in such a small French Muslim population in France, so many went to fight for jihad. You hardly had any from India, and we have such a large Muslim population. These are deeply alienated French passport holders, and they have been influenced by the kind of stuff you see on the internet. So it's a very, very major problem, and it will have to be tackled through education, through social reform, and through an understanding that such kind of barbaric behavior is not acceptable anywhere. And for that, it is extremely helpful that Saudi Arabia has condemned it, because whether Turkey likes it or not, it is Saudi Arabia which is the guardian of Mecca and Medina. And when the Saudis say they don't accept it, it has great impact on the Muslim world. So I would say that, as I said earlier, Turkey and Pakistan will live to regret what they've said. And yes, I agree with the general that it is time for the Western world to deal with Turkey, because within NATO, it is an embarrassment. Turkey is supposed to guard the southernmost frontiers of the vulnerable European Union, along with Greece. But what it has happened is that it has actually made Europe more vulnerable by its behavior. It was supposed to be the bulwark of the alliance, there in the Aegean Sea, defending European values, and it has turned rogue. So the Europeans and the West, the Americans after the election, they will have to deal with Turkey, because you can't have a rogue state as a NATO country. They'll have to deal with Turkey.
Right, absolutely, Sanjay. So this is not only France's problem, this is a European problem. You know, perhaps France has been a country which has faced the maximum number of attacks, but there are equal amount of alienated Muslims with European passports in Germany, in Spain, in Cyprus.
In Netherlands also.
In Netherlands also, Sanjay?
In Brussels.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Belgium also quite a bit. So no, the problem in France is not so simple as it is understood. The fact of the matter is that, as Ambassador rightly pointed out, there is a colonial past to France, and there has been a history to what happened in Algeria. Many people have forgotten the kind of brutal crackdown that took place of the Algerian national movement, and you have to go to YouTube to see the kind of brutality that the French, heaped on the Algerian people. Even there is a connect between the formation of Al-Qaeda to the remnants of the Algerian Muslim fundamentalists who were there. So, there has been a history, and if you look at it, the manner in which the entire Levant region was carved up, the Sykes-Picot Act, the French were involved. The French are even involved in Syria for quite an extent. In fact, during my trips to Syria on 2-3 occasions, during the time when the war has been going on, I used to hear the presence of French covert operatives stoking trouble there, doing something, because French want to be involved in everything, And sometimes it so happens when you go to an area where you are not required, the war ends up visiting you, it follows you in certain ways. So French are also reaping some of the, stuff that they have done for the last many years. And they should have been more circumspect rather than, trying to show that they are morally far superior to everybody else. What has happened is very bad. There should be no attempt to, in any way condone it, but it is far more complicated. You go to Paris, you'll find how the Muslims have been, especially the Algerians, are living at the periphery. They are not really incorporated. The great amount of alienation. Even the ambassador has said that their alienation has to end, their seclusion has to end. And there has to be a conversation, which is not really happening.
Yeah.
And the rise of Islamic fundamentalism, we need just a moment. What has happened with the rise of radicalism and Islamic fundamentalism? Nobody wants to talk to him because there is so much of stereotyping that goes into it. And this will continue for far long, I think, till the time you have a conversation between different communities. This is a problem which is, not go away, and heaping violence on them is not a solution at all.
Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. We only have about a minute left. General Sivac, Sanjay is saying that obviously it's not as simple as it is put out to be. There is a colonial past which is attached to the country of France. But is it the only country which has a colonial past? There are a number of powers all across the world which
England, for that matter,
which have a colonial past. 1 second, Sanjay. Do they meet the same fate? Are they as complicated in dealing with immigrants from a lesser nation? So you have to unmute yourself. Just a minute, sir, for you, and then we wrap up. General Sivac, go ahead, sir. Just a minute.
As far as this issue is concerned, it is the complete Europe has got. In fact, France is one of the best states where it comes to dealing with the minorities, including Muslims. But the other states are going to have a problem. You see, what has happened is when the Muslims have over a period of time come as a refugee, they have settled down in clusters, and they are not ready to accept certain laws which are prevalent in that country. That is the irony of this. And obviously, that they are also not, they are staying in poverty, they are not enjoying certain privileges. So this problem is on the both sides. So therefore, today Europe should wake up and they should realize what is happening in France. At least France has the courage of conviction to take this problem head on. The other countries like England, Netherlands, and Germany, they may not be able to handle because first of all, their laws are slightly weaker. Second thing is that the population has increased and they have refused to understand the problem. The Muslims, all of the refugees are staying in cluster and they are not ready to accept the law of the land. And therefore, today what is required is the beginning must be made. First of all, they should be brought in mainstream. There should be also a sort of education system start. They must be also given facility. If you have got them the citizenship of that country, bring them in the mainstream of that country. If they remain isolated, they will be a threat to the world. And the Islamization which is taking place and fundamentalism taking place all over the world is a cause of concern.
Absolutely.
Remember that in Syria, the Islamic State, maximum people were from Europe, the refugee Muslims which are settled down there. So this is the cause of concern. And this is a point which must be understood by Europe, that this is the beginning, that they must now wake up to this problem which is live and they have to now sort it out.
Okay, sir. We have completely run out of time. Ambassador Mukherjee, Sanjay Kapoor and General Sivac, appreciate you joining us on this very important debate.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.